Courtyard. I'm very excited this week. We have a first for the Courtyard show, which is a Salumist, and I'm here to introduce Peter Seghesio, who is our guest, and of course Jacques Brix, who is our French colorful color host.
Wine expert, thank you
Yes.
very much.
And we are starting by pouring some of Pete Seghesio's Chardonnay. And Jacques.
Excuse me.
Oh, there you go.
We'll try to do it without shaking too
There
much.
we go. There we go. And cheers. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Pete. It's great to
Cheers.
have you here.
Thank you, Susie.
And
Jacques?
Jacques,
Cheers.
Cheers.
I know you're Chardonnay, and I love it. So, and I'm a little bit of a Chardonnay snob, so I'll just start by saying I'm already a fan of the wines. So, Pete, you have such an interesting history, and the word journey certainly describes you and your family and the history in Sonoma County. And I have to say that I've been into the industry for over 20 years, but your family has been incredibly instrumental in the history of Sonoma County and the founding of Sonoma County. And I know a lot of it, but I believe you started in 1895.
1896, 1895 is close enough. We started with the vineyard, the winery, 1896, and it was part of the old Seghesio family. And the Seghesio story is really what, we are a nation of immigrants, and the immigrants coming to this country, working in the fields, building a winery, surviving Prohibition. A family also grew pears and prunes. We kind of did what every other Italian family in this area did. You're always diversified. You always, my grandmother was a third, and a third. So you never had you never had too much of one thing. And going through right now, you see some of the old family photos that we have. That is actually on my mother's side, which is Pasalacqua, and they came over in 1886. There's my Seghesio grandparents, married in 1895. He was and there's my lovely wife in our little shop in downtown Hillsburg. But no, Grandpa worked. He was a journeyman winemaker, and journeyman was back in the Middle Ages and in turn of the century, where artisans would work in exchange for hospitality. And he came over and had a 3-year contract where Italian Swiss Colony would cover his room and board for 3 years in exchange for him working there and learning the craft, and he became one of the winemakers at Italian Swiss Colony. And so that journeyman story was, and trying to impart to our children, look, we all want to be masters, but it's important that to grow and get better and get really good at your craft is to have the mindset of a journeyman, that it's an ongoing learning process. And so that's why we started the little journeyman project, really to teach our kids how to make wine, how to work with growers, how to work with winemakers, how to sell wine.
Well, in your family, it sounds like the original family that was here was very tied into the whole concept of craftsmanship, in that there were people who came here who used to be involved in farming or with animals or with butchering and other types of skill sets.
Exactly. We all, most old Italian families cut their own meat, made their own salami, made their own whole muscle, made their own bacon. Most of our old families would have a dedicated hog that they would harvest after harvest. So one of the traditions that we grew up with was giving away freshly made sausage for the holidays from the
I remember
hog
that.
that was killed for the holiday season. And so whether it's cotechino or salamente or fresh sausage, guanciale, those were all of the things that we did. Making prosciutto was a thing, was a craft also, and I think that's one of the reasons why I embarked going back to Italy after the sale of Seghesio was to
Yeah,
learn more
and
about meat.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
just to sort of close the first chapter of Seghesio, your family built an incredible winery and legacy, and I know that you were very, very busy, to say the least. Your brother was the winemaker, Ted.
Cousin.
Oh, he's your cousin.
Yeah.
And you were the general manager.
Yeah.
And I remember you were the national sales manager because Selby and Seghesio, whenever it was alphabetical at a trade show, we were always by each other.
Yeah.
So I watched how hard you and your family worked over the years, and it's not easy. It's not a lucky thing where you came here and planted the right grapes and started this winery, and really what you built is pretty fabulous.
No, thank you. It was a wonderful opportunity where we were young enough, and there was a point, I think, with our fathers and uncles where they knew they had taken it as far as they could take it, and the challenges that were facing the family were so daunting that it was like, well, let's give the kids a chance.
You were down, and there must have been a lot of people involved too, because you had another generation coming up.
Yeah, there was 11. There's 11 in the family that were owners, and we were making a bunch of average wine. We were making 100,000 cases of wine that was okay, but it wasn't great. And so it took the younger generation. Ted pushed very hard. I pushed very hard on our fathers and uncles to let us get small.
Mm-hmm.
Let us get small. Let us make a small amount of great wine and start over. And so because we used to have concrete tanks, redwood tanks, and so we ended up having to take all of that out, going all to French and American oak. All small.
No, wasn't there a
lot of
fire that
fermentations.
sort of?
The fire was very helpful.
Helpful.
So we didn't. Yeah, the fire was very helpful. The insurance company was wonderful to work with. You don't hear that often, but they were great to work with, and they let us, instead of rebuilding the cellar on the bottom down by the railroad tracks, they let us use that same amount of money to retrofit an existing building at the front of the property, and that's really what springboarded us to starting over and having a real good opportunity to succeed.
Well, you did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
I have to tell you a very brief story that you will not remember, but a long time ago, I was getting some grapes from.
Can I give you that?
Oh, I'd love that.
I like spicy salami with the white, and then I like more mild salami with the red. So this is our sopressata. 7 years of work on this.
I have to taste it first. So you and I was getting some grapes from a relative of yours, and I was having problems. This
He
is
can be
delicious.
tough.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I love it.
Sweetheart. He's a sweetheart, but he would not drop fruit for me. And I kept looking over at your side of the vineyard, and I said, well, why does that side look so good? And, to make a long story short, I said, and, sweet as could be, it was like, oh, Susie, come on, we don't need to do this. You're overreacting, whatever. And I was like, well, they're not overreacting on that side of the vineyard. I said, when's the next time Pete's coming out? Well, I think he's coming out. He's scheduled like Wednesday afternoon. So I showed up at the vineyard early in the morning, and I sat there and read magazines. And the grower came by. What are you doing? I said, oh, I'm just sitting around reading people, waiting. And all of a sudden, Pete shows up, and you showed up. I think there were 3 of you in pickup trucks checking vineyards in a hurry because you're busy. And went in, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And you said, and take care of Susie. He's like, darn it. So thank you for that. I mean, you were a very good friend for that, but it was just a funny situation. But we all look out for each other, but I appreciate how much you looked out for me in the early days.
Oh, well, it's great to see young winemakers coming up, and you could tell you were going to be a force. So
Well,
congratulations
that's
on
awfully
your
kind.
success.
Well, thank you. So, so it's exciting that the end of the chapter of the family, even though the Seghesio name and the winery lives on and is still producing fabulous wine, and then you started learning the meat industry, and I find that so interesting. From what I understand, you used to go to Italy every February.
Every February,
I'm dying to hear about this.
it was one of the great opportunities of my life. After the sale, my wife kids me that she just wanted to go to a beach, and I was 48 and just felt that there's only halfway through. There has to be another thing that we can build and be great at. And my dad always wanted me to learn how to make prosciutto, and we would make salamette, little salami, every Christmas by hanging them up at the home ranch up in Geyserville in the winery during the winter months. But so I started. I did a tour of Italy. I had the wonderful opportunity to have lunch and meet Dario Cecchini, who's Italy's top
yes.
butcher.
And this was after the sale.
After the sale.
Because you already had this in your mind that this is something you want to do.
Yeah.
And wow, so Dario, that must have been interesting. He looks like a fascinating man.
Here's coming across are some of the photos in Italy, and Dario will show up soon, I'm sure. But Dario is one of the warmest, largest personalities that you will ever meet. There he is, right there.
Oh
That
my
was
gosh.
him the first time we went into our
love
shop.
that.
And my he gives you come in and he gives you Chianti and glasses and little bicchietti. There
that
we
is
are after our lunch
fabulous.
together. That's the Marini family. That's where I went every February.
And that's outside of Florence.
That's outside of Florence, and they've been making prosciutto and salami since the 1902. So what you learn, I mean, salami is fermented just like wine. It's aged just like wine. The larger diameter salami, like the PO, like on one this size. This takes about 60 days. The small chubs take about 30 days. The large ones tend to. This is my father's recipe. It's why we call it PO. But the biggest thing that you see is that, and it's like wine. The early wines we made in the 70s in California were not the strongest, but as California rivaled and wanted to challenge the French and the Italians, but more the French, it's how do you make great Chardonnay in a Burgundian format? How do you make great Pinot in a Burgundian format? How do you make great Cabernet in a Bordeaux format? And to me it's the same thing with the meats. We need to aspire to be as great as the salumi that you get in Italy. And in America, you have the challenges of USDA, so most companies will overshoot the legal requirements. Meaning the Italian way is, as an example, to ferment the meat at 72 to 74 degrees. Most American producers will ferment at 100 degrees. They basically cook the meat. And that's why when you taste other people's salami, you'll notice it's very tangy.
Well,
And this is not.
And you're doing craftsman style, so even when you're fermenting, aren't you slowing down the process a little bit?
It is exponentially
Wow,
much
look at
slower.
that. I'm sorry, explain what we're seeing here.
Oh, that's our main
fabulous.
aging room there. And that's all pork shoulder, all heritage pork. But our production facility is up in Cloverdale, so it's about 15 minutes north of here. We use, that's a bowl chopper. That's Samuele, that's one of our Italian internships or journeyman. He was with us for the first year and a half, and that's Samuele. The aging room is just magnificent, though.
And do you have different rooms at different temperatures, like we do at wineries?
Essentially, yes. We have a whole muscle room that is slightly colder than the main aging
I
rooms. The
love
little
that.
porcelinos, the little piggies we do for Christmas.
How fabulous
There's
is
our
that?
fermentation rooms. So there's 4 different rooms, and so it's a small batch fermentation. So we do 1 tree at a time, and that tree has to be the same diameter, because we have a different fermentation regime for larger diameter versus something that's a little smaller, like the Parmigiano
Because the
Porcini.
speed at which now, and just to
Yes, the speed.
and just to put it at its basic level, it is similar to winemaking. It's fermented meat, but you're using a bacteria instead of yeast.
We're
correct?
using 5 different types of Italian bacteria that have
you're-
been brought from Italy over here.
Oh, nice. So you're inoculating with those?
We inoculate with those, and that's
That's a big
We-
deal that you brought them from Italy.
it's commercially available, but these strains are among the most expensive in the industry because they're Italian, because they're strains that let you end up with a higher pH. So one of the reasons this salumi is just the plural of salami. One of the reasons is that this is not tangy is because it has higher pH, softer acidities. And the bacteria has an influence in that role.
So, and just for consumers to understand, higher pH, it's going to be a little bit heavier.
Buttery.
Buttery and heavier
More
in your mouth. It's
nuttiness.
not going to be as tangy on your palate.
Yeah, if you try the large branded products in America, they will taste almost vinegary, that there's so much acid. To me, they taste like a steel pole.
So they're lower pH, obviously.
They're 4.5, 4.4, 4.6. And the lower the pH, the faster the production. So this will be done where it takes us 30 days to do a chub. It takes the large people 12 days. So
Okay, and-
twice as long because of the aging.
And that's the same analogy with winemaking. When we speed through a fermentation with wine, and it's the same thing. We're starting with, we've got the pH-TA ratio, but we're just not going to get the complexity and the interesting flavors. And
It's
I had a question before I forget. Is, in the winemaking, when the yeast converts sugar into alcohol, what's the bacteria converting into?
lactic acid. So it's converting sugar into lactic acid, and that acid is what is dropping the pH. The pH of meat is at around 6, and at the end, we have to be under 5.3 pH within 48 hours. So part of what influences the speed is the bacteria, the amount of sugar that you use. So a lot of the larger companies will use more sugar at higher temperature, and that makes for faster fermentation. It's like aging. It's like fermenting wine. If you ferment at 70, or if you ferment a Chardonnay at say 76 versus at 55, it's much slower, and it's the same thing with salami. So.
wow. Well, this is so beautiful. What should we try next?
You should try
Jacques and I are just.
you
I
should
like
try
everything.
the collab. Let's do another spicy one before we go to more of the
Perfect.
mild ones. This is a classic recipe from Calabria, and so this is our Calabrian salami. But it is my mother's side of the family is Calabrese, so Seghesio is Calabrese. And Pasalacqua is Calabrese. Seghesio is Piemontese, northern.
That is delicious.
So this has some great heat, great length. This is another. This is influenced from the Pasalacqua heritage. It's my own recipe, but it's spices that are typical of Calabria.
Wow. And what are those spices?
It's going to be Calabrian sweet chilies,
Oh, the
sweet
sweet
smoked
chilies.
paprika.
Paprika.
And this is done with Sonoma County Zinfandel as well.
Wow. Now, at what point do you add the wine?
We're adding the wine when we're adding the spices. So we make, everything is all the spices are from whole spice out of Petaluma, and the dry spices are going to be anywhere from 6 to 9% of the total volume. Wine is typically 1, 2, 3%. In most of our recipes, it's about 2%. So that wine is a significant spice component because we're going to lose in the aging process about 45% of the mass. So all of those spices
Right.
become dramatically amplified because of the dehydration, and that's one of the challenging things with salami is that if you over dry it, it gets too hard. If you under dry it, it's too wet. If you over dry it, then you've concentrated the spices too much, and it can be out of balance. So it's almost tougher than winemaking.
I bet. Do you have humidifiers?
The humidity source is the meat. So we
okay.
the machinery is all from Parma. It's from a company called Frigo Mechanica, but the relative humidity comes up and it reaches a certain set point, and then we pull it down. But we want the humidity to come up and begin to plateau, because if you pull it down too early, then you can harden the outside of the salami. So you have to let the salami naturally release its moisture, because if you pull the moisture, then you cause a hardening of the outer layer. So it's very delicate, it's very sensitive.
Well, and just for those of you who may have joined us a little bit later, just to catch you up on what's happening here, is we're with Pete Seghesio, who is with Journeyman Meat Company. And Pete has started what is just an amazing salumeria. Am I
Yeah.
saying that correctly? And does ship nationally and does have a club. But as far as I'm concerned, you're very cutting edge in this craft, and learned so much from some of the masters in Italy. It's pretty exciting. I'm just catching people up on what's happening. And what are we tasting?
This
right
is
now?
our copa.
Copa.
So this is the shoulder of the animal. Everything is pasture-raised hogs. It's all purebreds, heritage breeds, and copa is just has a wonderful heat component to it. But copa is done differently than salami. Where the salami is cut pork, it's a combination of pork shoulder and back fat from the animal, and we're cutting it up. Copa is the whole muscle, and it'll be in a marinata, in a marinade with cure. Mm-hmm. So our spices, our wine, and it'll be in marinata for 3 weeks, and then it's put into a netting, and then it goes into the fermentation room, and then into the aging room. So.
Well, I know you also work with local farmers, and I think there's a quote on your website that says you should know where the animals come from that you're
Yep.
enjoying, and I saw something else which I love. You know, obviously you're familiar with slow food, but Dario on his website said there are 4 rules. It's the way the animal lives, the way the animal dies, the butcher, and the cook or the chef. And the whole concept here is knowing that the animals are well taken care of, honoring the animals in the way that they live and die, and really appreciating the craft of turning them into something so beautiful and delicious. So
Thank you.
it's really
Thank you.
wonderful. Gosh, I'm
So have we talked about you have a restaurant too?
It's just a salumeria. It's a limited. We offer boards like this. We have a burger. We have 3 pizzas. We have a sausage tasting board and an incredible burger, and we have a sandwich of the day, and that's about it. Oh, we have a great butcher steak as well.
Well,
But it's a
I've had all of them.
It's a wonderful. It's a small case, but it's what we think is the best meat available. And then we have a wonderful estate beef program, which is one animal that we've raised that we have available every month. We harvest one per month. So, and we work
Wow.
with Terry Lindley, a local grower. So they're Sonoma County born and raised Angus, and they're put into the case as a state beef. So
Well-
that's a great selection.
And again, you do ship nationally.
Yes, we do ship nationally, and if I can get this open, I'll show you this is your club shipment for May.
Oh, good. I'm a member.
And,
M2.
Are you? We're
Yes.
both members. Oh, good. We're excited about seeing our club
there's
shipment.
a shot of some wonderful dry-aged meat in the case that we have for Christmas
that's
time. There's
so
some
beautiful.
wonderful San Lorenzo Estate ribeye in that photo. That's some wonderful Wagyu filet that is just delicious. This is the May shipment, and so the May shipment is each salami club shipment. There's 4 a year, and each one is going to be a new recipe.
And this
So-
was the packaging. I mean, it's a fun package to receive.
Yeah,
We all get very excited about it.
A lot of people give them as gifts. It's really resonated with our customers, and so it's rare that somebody will do a new salami for every quarter. But the May one is Sonoma Salumeria, and that's what we would call the place that I went to as a kid. It was called Nando's, but Nando taught me how to say the word Salumeria. And the salami that we had there was red wine and garlic. And so this is a very simple recipe, but it was what I remember trying salami for the first time with Nando. And Nando Biasotti's little general store, Salumeria, up in Geyserville. But this is in honor of that store when I was a little kid. And all the old Italians, then when they were finished farming, they would go to that store, because it was also a bar, and they would put salt in their draft beer, and Nando would go around
I love
with
that.
this red wine garlic salami. So that's the May one, and that's with our Calabrian. The September shipment is going to be amazing. It's a salami we did with Russian River Brewery. So it's Pliny the salami.
Oh,
and-
Pliny the salami.
Yeah, Pliny the salami. So
Okay, all you beer lovers. Is that going to be on allocation?
nah, it's just for the club. It's just for the club.
Okay.
We're
So
making
you have to join the club in
Yeah.
order to have access.
Yeah, and but you know, Russian River's going to have they're going to have a little bit to play with too, but Pliny brings a wonderful citrus component to it, so that's part of the components that we built the salami around. So it's really quite good, and then we're doing the November shipment it's probably going to be one that we're going to do with Valette. So we're talking with Destin.
And Valette is a very famous, well-known local French restaurant owned by two fabulous local guys. So
Yep.
that's exciting.
Yeah. So we, being a small facility, we're able to do R&D, and so we can do a lot of different recipes to make sure that our club gets something really great. So that's
Well, we
that's neat.
certainly are all very excited about all of our shipments.
Yeah, a couple of months ago you did, I remember going to some friend's house and you just happened to do a tasting of Pizziking wines, I think.
Yeah, it was the Wilson family ones.
Yeah, with the Wilson,
Yeah.
yes. And and you said that, because we had it paired with 4, right? There were 4 different
But was
Salomis.
the wine in this?
Yeah, we did some R&D. So we did some recipes for.
Nice.
Yeah, we did some recipes for them. So, but yeah, that I think they'll be coming out with theirs soon.
Yeah, so all of you who work at places like Lockheed, your research and development is a little different than ours.
Exactly.
Wine country, sorry about that. Research and development is very important. It just
when I told
presents
it- yeah.
itself in different ways.
Yep.
Yeah, when I told that to Susie, she said, well, how come I wasn't invited?
Oh,
It's like,
yeah, Susie,
Oh, I
we
just
can,
meant to the social gathering.
we
Like,
can make
I
us-
want to be at your party.
we can make a salami for you anytime with your wine. You just let me know.
Oh, I will absolutely let you
I
know.
said, yeah, I'd love to hear from your club members. Would they like to see that?
This is the Bianco. This is rosemary, sage, and fennel.
They're also good with this wine.
Yeah.
Delicious. And speaking of wine, again, right now we're tasting the San Lorenzo is the label, correct?
This
It's-
one's Journeyman. I made it.
Oh, Journeyman.
I made it
Okay.
confusing. I'm sorry.
Okay,
There's
no, it's fine. So it's either Journeyman
or San
or
Lorenzo.
San Lorenzo, and San Lorenzo is also a vineyard.
San Lorenzo is the vineyard I inherited from my mother, and San Lorenzo is where the Passalacqua family is from, so we called it San Lorenzo. And it's on the north side of Fitch Mountain.
I've been to the vineyard.
Yeah.
It's very special.
So it does a phenomenal job with Bordeaux Reds and Zinfandel as well. And the Journeyman label, we started to teach our kids the craft, and it's really a Burgundian label dedicated to Chardonnay and Pinot. The second wine we're going to try is Pearl, which is the San Lorenzo. It's the oldest part of the San Lorenzo property, planted around 1892. So we'll try that next.
Like right now?
Yes, and you know, you're so humble, but you did receive a pretty exciting honor in terms of scores, did you not?
Yeah, the Pearl was the highest rated Zin yet in the Spectator.
In the history of the Wine Spectator,
Yeah, the Pearl.
that is
did-
I'm sure
did-
most
did
of you
pretty
already
well.
know this, but that is a really, really big deal. That is very exciting. His hands are trembling as he opens it. He's
God,
quite a
there's three
Zin
of us.
lover. I know.
Well, you know what it's like. You know, sometimes the greatest wines are the ones that are the toughest. You know, that wine was stuck. I had to restart it.
Zin is the
it-
hardest one to make.
I mean, that wine wasn't through ML until like February or March. I mean, it was painful.
That's
but-
funny. Diane Wilson was my guest a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we were just Zin is so challenging.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's the most stressful varietal there is to make. The stuck fermentations, they do not behave well.
No. So
So it did get stuck.
did get stuck, but we got it going, and I have
Were you going in at the middle of the night? I'm just curious.
yes, going in the
Okay,
middle
see,
of the night.
this just confirmed. That's what we do. You have to keep feeding it.
Yeah. No, you have to keep feeding it, and you have to.
You did the restart and go in and.
And you know, we're lucky we have a room in our winery barn that's temperature controlled. The main room is able to hold barrels at 68, so they finish fermentation. But then we have a room in the back that is better insulated, that we can hold the wine at 68 until throughout the whole winter if need be. And that's what it took with that one particular vintage of Pearl. And we use that. I look at that room as basically being purgatory. You know, it's
Purgatory.
yeah, where the wines are in
Oh,
between.
thank you.
So,
Wow.
but this is
And again, it's called Pearl because it's.
it's called
Yes,
Pearl
he
because
always manages to grab it.
it's called
Don't
Pearl because it was my mother's favorite part of the vineyard, and it was planted in 1892. But when the vineyard was purchased, it was purchased for 10 gold coins. But that old vine field blend was
For 10 gold coins?
yeah, 10 gold coins.
Wow.
So, but that old vine it's where my mother always wanted to go. She didn't care as much about the new plantings. She was very passionate about her ranch. This was 1/4 of the original Passalacqua Ranch.
Oh,
And
wow.
And it, you know, this is 60% Zin, 40% Alicante, Grand Noir, Negrette, Carignan, a few vines of Moscato, a little bit of Mourvedre, fair amount of Alicante and Grand Noir and
You know,
Petit.
I
you know,
apologize because you've probably already said this, but so were these cuttings that were brought?
It was
From
on-
Italy?
No, these were here, and these were the Francesco Passalacqua, when he purchased the property,
For
on
the 10 gold
deed,
coins.
for 10 gold coins, they reference 7 acres of young vines, and these were the young vines. So
And did he purchase it from an Italian family? Or?
no, it was an Italian.
Wow.
It was an Italian.
That's so
I think it was. But a lot of the this is you can see the bees love the meat.
Who doesn't? You can't blame them.
This is really what Sonoma used to be. You know, if there was a super Sonoma, if there's a true Sonoma field blend, it's old vineyards like this. So
It's the
anyway.
it's the essence of our history.
yeah.
There's no question about that.
And I find the red wines do better with the more mild salami. So we have the Rosso here. You want to try some of that?
Yep.
And the Rosso is anise, juniper, and it actually has a little Pinot. But the juniper is a neat component that you don't see in much salami, and I really like what it brings. But it's not when you have red wines that are bigger red wines. I think it's important that you don't want cured meats that are too hot, because you want to temper the tan and you want to temper the alcohol. So you need more mild salami.
Well, I noticed that a lot of it when I taste your salamis, the spice comes out in the finish. Very much so. Like the juniper, it's
Yes.
very very much on the finish. It's
It's
really
so well balanced and toned that it's
Well, and it's-
smooth.
And people who haven't really been out in an old vine vineyard before, it's crazy because they're different sizes and different shapes, but you'll be like every 12th vine, there'll be a white grape, or there'll be
Yeah.
some unusual berry. And it's pretty magical because it's, you really don't know exactly what's out there, and you harvest it together and it just makes a lovely wine every time.
Well, and they would put, supposedly the old, vineyard growers would plant Moscato for the workers, or mission for the workers.
Oh, for eating grapes?
Yeah, for eating grapes. And so, that's, we have just a couple, but you'll find them in the oldest plantings of Sonoma. I don't know if I answered the pearl question. I don't know if I finished that, but my mom, my dad's gift to her on their 50th wedding anniversary was a pearl necklace, and we just always made reference that this was Mom's pearl of her vineyard.
Oh.
And anytime we were doing anything out there, she would come out, especially when we were harvesting. And I remember one time we're harvesting, and I'm sorting the fruit, because with Zinfandel you have to watch. You can have some rosé fruit. There's some times when you can have a little botrytis. Now we sort. I mean, we go through before we ever pick. But in the olden days, you'd sort at the bin, and I would be I'd throw out a cluster here and there, and here comes my mom, and out of the corner of my eye, I see her grabbing the clusters off the ground and then tucking them into the corner of the bin. This was 20 years ago. And I go, Mom,
I love that.
Mom, that cluster had rot. We don't want that in the bin. And she said, oh, your grandfather, would say rot adds flavor. And it's like, Mom, that's not the flavor we want. So, but that's like
That's
my uncle
classic.
and all the old Italians.
I know.
They bleed when you cut fruit off of the
I
vine.
know, it's painful for him.
Yeah.
You're throwing money on the ground. So I
Yes.
swear I'm just trying to make wine. No, I understand. By the way, I wore my pearl necklace, which is my favorite necklace, in honor of the wine, and now I feel like it has more meaning now that I know the actual pearl story. So that's fun. Okay.
This is lomo. This is the loin of the hog, and this is going to be more mild than the copa.
And this is an interesting tasting. For those of you who may have missed the beginning, we started with the spicier
Yep.
combinations during the white
Yeah.
wine, and the Chardonnay, the texture of the salami and the Chardonnay was just fabulous together. And now we're moving on to the more mild ones, and the fat of the actual meat is really bringing out the fruit in the wine.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good combination.
And I can't reemphasize that enough, Susie. I mean, you're spot on. That when winemakers and when they really focus on it, I mean, that is one of the great takeaways for me has been that for Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, for most whites, to make the acid show more, if you pair it with something like the Sopressata that has a little bit of heat, it just really helps enhance the freshness and the French style, the French nervousness that you see in a lot of our great California whites. But with big reds, you need something like this that the fat will temper the tannins and help cleanse your palate of the tannins.
I know, it's just a wonderful combination. Is this wine even available if anybody wanted to buy it?
It's released next month. It's at the shop. It's available at the shop, 1 bottle limit, but the formal release is next month. So, and we only make 120 cases. So
I know, and it won't be available. Don't worry about it. Do you have a wine club or just a Salumi club?
It's just a mailing list for the wines, and then the real focus for the club is with the Salumi Club.
Meats.
And it's called on the website. It's called the Meat Guild.
That's right. I knew you had a
Meat
cool
Guild.
name for it. I love that.
Oh, and we're so if any of our club members are listening, we're so sorry about not having Carnival this year, and we look forward to having that next year. We had
He's talking about a party.
Yeah, it's a river party.
He's talking about the river, just so you know.
It was just.
It's not a product, it's a party. We all miss parties.
Oh, and then what about the bacon brunch? We have the bacon brunch in June. There's some wonderful events with the.
Can't we do
with the
bacon
club.
brunch 6 feet apart, just a few of us in Healdsburg?
We'll have to try it on the plaza or something.
I know. So it's a club to be a part of. I mean, not to miss, in my opinion. It's a cool club, and it's always exciting to get shipments. And I think you also let people know about, they can also ship meat, obviously, as well.
Yes.
Fresh meats and...
Yeah, with the pandemic, we started shipping fresh meat overnight, so that's available. We also do home deliveries in Sonoma County, Napa. So that is something that we've changed since things have happened with the pandemic. We also have a wonderful Salumi sampler pack that we ship out of the plant, temperature controlled. So it is, you want to always remember this is a living entity, just like the wine.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever cellar temperature for the wine, you want to remember that for the Salumi. So it's best refrigerated. It's got 1 year, 2 year life if it's refrigerated. If it's not refrigerated, it's shelf stable. It's good for say 60 days. But if you keep it in, just remember it's like wine. You want to watch that it doesn't get too warm.
And people can go to your website. Can they sign up for your mailing list?
Yeah,
Even if
they
they're
can
not...
sign up for mailing list. They can sign up for the club, and they can purchase a fair amount of the products online.
Now, and as a person who loves to throw parties and participate in parties, this is a really fun way to present things to your guests.
Yeah, this is available. This is $35 at the shop. This is the Parma Porcini.
Oh, thank you. I'm
I don't
taking
know if
2 of them.
Tasted that?
We did
yet.
not.
And
Oh, Parmesan and porcini mushrooms?
yeah, so you can see the little, the nice yellow component there. That's Parmesan cheese. So,
Wow.
and it's a great one. We see a lot of
and it's
our Cabernet clients liking this one as a
yeah.
component because the cheese really helps temper those tannins.
And it almost tastes like you get meatiness from the porcini as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, like a porcini texture.
How
Wow,
does it
that's
go
really-
with this wine?
Oh, it goes fantastic.
Jacques. This really is
I'm
wonderful.
not embarrassing anybody.
No, it's all good.
Oh, just yourself, as the usual.
I don't care.
you know how it goes. Oh, this is...
together, just the
Yeah,
nose.
it's pretty great.
Nice.
So how many sort of projects in the works do you have now? Are you thinking about expanding to other types of products? Are the cheeses things that you utilize other makers for? And
No, Susie, right now the main focus is what is going to be the best salami we can make for our club. That's going to be a new recipe. So I need, right now we're focused on November and February shipments. So that's kind of the pressing priority. You know, we're a federally inspected facility. So we have a federal meat inspector every day at our facility. So it's a slow moving
every
ship.
day?
Every day.
Is it because you're a newer company, or is that
No.
just standard protocol
That's
in that
standard,
industry?
Yeah, that's your tax dollars at work. So
Wow.
it's standard protocol that.
Is it
that
the same one every day?
It's the same one. They change every 6 months, but they are there for at least 2 or 3 hours, and they'll inspect. You know, they walk through your plant at least every 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so it allows us to ship product everywhere, but it limits how much you can do. You know, it forces you to focus. So that's what we do. Focus on trying to make the best artisanal salumi in America.
Well, you're accomplishing that, and I also think that as a winemaker and a salumist, you're killing it, Pete.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you really are.
And before you do your closing, I just want the camera to point out that that's somebody who actually takes his work and goes and sees the animal, and one of them stepped on your foot.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, she
Oh my gosh! I
she
didn't know
ran
that.
over me. No, she ran over me. No, we only buy heifers from Terry, and so these are locally born heifers, and we have right now on our pasture we have 6, and we were not spinning. We were taking one off to go to be harvested, and the rest of the group didn't want to be separated. And I had her like this, and she basically ran over me and stepped on my foot. So I have a fracture, and it'll be healed just before harvest. So anyway.
Well, it just wow. Oh, I had no idea that's what happened.
So anyway, we'll be ready for harvest.
Well, here's to you and all your success. And I, of course, will continue to be a loyal member of your club, as will Jacques, and I think everyone
Pretty much
here, the
everybody
camera
here.
people, the Deloches, the Olmsteads, we're all. There is one thing I'd like to say. I would like us to have a little toast to Milla Handley, who was
Yes.
an amazing pioneer in the wine industry. She passed away last Saturday. That she was the first female winemaker and owner, and quite an inspiration to me, and just a fabulous, lovely person. So,
Anderson
Cheers.
Valley, right?
yeah, Anderson Valley.
Cheers.
So cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers to Milla.
Cheers.
And do you have anything else you'd like to let us know about coming up? We'll make sure people go to your website and enjoy becoming a member of the guild.
There is there's some wonderful, amazing new sausages in the case. The triple double is done with a double IPA, double the smoke time, and double the cheese.
Triple double.
That's a lot of fun. There's a wonderful andouille that is wonderful to use on a pasta sauce.
Now, did Kathy, your beautiful wife, consult on that one, since it's sort of a Louisiana traditional?
Yes, yeah, and now we have tasso that we made for Kath. So
who's a native New Orleans.
Yep, native New Orleans girl. And but no, the shop's open. We have outdoor seating on the north side, and so no, come on by.
And you also have a very friendly staff who's accommodating.
Oh, and
Everything's-
there's some amazing meats in the case right now. There's a new one called zabuton, which is Japanese for pillow, but it's part of the chuck. But it has the most incredible marbling. Oh,
Wow.
so there's some wonderful selections in the case.
So if this show has not made you hungry, nothing will.
Thirsty.
I'm thirsty. Thank you so much, Pete. Everything was great. Have always been a fan, but love the wine, love the
Susie, we're
salumi.
a fan of you, and you know, hopefully that dream is still alive. I mean, you came here as a pup and built a
Yeah.
great brand, and you know, it's one of the last places that people can do something like that. So congratulations to you, and hopefully
Thank
that
you.
Sonoma dream is alive for more generations to come.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thanks to everybody for watching. And we will be back next week with John Belletto, who's another wonderful gentleman who started with a vegetable business. So we will be talking to him. And Pete, thanks again for sharing everything. And Jacques, and have a great week. Stay home, stay safe, and wear a mask.
That's cool.